more the struggle, the more the reward. And Allah sees all your struggle. Allah sees all of your effort. Inshallah, you will be rewarded for it. And so we have 5 different strategies that we're going to go through on how we can build family relationships that are closer together, that we can bond better with each other, inshallah. So we're going to go through it. I'm all about giving practical tips. It's really important. So it's going to be very interactive. We're going to work together as a family. So again, if you're more comfortable on the carpet in the back or up here, please feel free. And so inshallah, number 1 is one-on-one time. And it's beautiful here, mashallah, all of you are spending one-on-one time here with your families. So that's incredible, alhamdulillah. Really, we can't build relationships if we're not together in the same space, in the same time. And that's even if you have 1 child or you have 5 kids, 7 kids, 8 kids, to spend one-on-one time with each and every one of them. And similarly, all of us as children, we have 2 parents, inshallah, perhaps, inshallah. To spend one-on-one time with each and every one of our parents as well is really vital and very important. And so we're going to play a little game in order to be able to spend a little bit of quality one-on-one time together. All right, it's going to be called Let's Get to Know Each Other, the Muslim edition, inshallah. So does everybody, as in every young person, do you have a parent or parents to pair up with? Is everybody kind of with their family? You're sitting with your family? That's what you need to be doing. As in, you're close enough with each other that you can talk to each other. Okay, so for the first round, inshallah, I want 1 person in your family to raise your hand. You're going to be the host of this round. So you're going to be the one asking the question to everyone else. Make sense? So who's the host for this round? Just want to raise your hand. Everybody, we've got 1 host per family. Okay, I see some hosts, some hesitant hosts. Okay, just identify 1 person who will ask the question. We got a person? Yes, no, okay. Inshallah, bismillah. Everybody ready to play? Inshallah. So that 1 person, your host, the one with the you're going to ask the question. Okay. So if you could have any other name, what would it be? So talk to each other, inshallah. You have 1 minute, inshallah. You can be loud. It's okay. I want to hear the conversations. Take your time. Anyone want to share what name they would choose? Especially someone young. I'm going to come around. I'm going to come with the yogurt. What is your name now? Mariam, mashallah. Mariam, so that would be a beautiful name. Similarly, yes, if I had a daughter, I would also name her Mariam. So, inshallah, mashallah, beautiful. Okay, fantastic. So, next round. So, a different person from the family who didn't get to ask the question, can you raise your hand now, inshallah? Who's going to be the host for this round, inshallah? Yes, somebody else. Okay, 2 people. Okay, awesome. All right, your question is, what dua would you like me to make for you? Something personal. One minute. Okay, friends, we're gonna move on. Mashallah, it's a deep one. It takes some time. but hopefully you guys got some interesting conversations going there. Do you have somebody else from the family to raise your hand and be the host, inshallah, for this round? Who's going to be the host? You got someone? Yes? Okay. Your question is, what's a mistake you made today? I know today is young, but mistakes happen. No, like we can forget things. If you forgot to make your morning adhkar today, that's a mistake. Yes, you forgot to pack something in your bag that you meant to. Anything. Actually, you know what? I bring this up because as parents, it's especially important to be able to talk about mistakes in a very unthreatening way with our kids. Failure, sin, mistakes are a part of our lives as believers, as just humans. We're going to mess up. Being able to have dinner table conversations where we do go around and we ask, hey, what's the mistake you made today? And making it not being about lecturing or nagging, but just listening. Hey, what was the mistake? And having an openness to it actually allows a young person to understand that just as forgiving, as nurturing, as understanding as the parent is when listening to that mistake, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is similarly al-mujib. He is as-sami'. He is always going to listen. And it is that idea of tawbah, right? That if we can turn back to our parents and explain what mistakes we made, then it helps them understand that they can always turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's really, really important, actually. All right, so this last round, actually, I want it to be the young person, one of the kids in your family, to be the one who's the host. And you're going to ask your parents, inshallah. So young person, young people, you put up your hands. You're going to be the host, inshallah, okay? And your question is, inshallah, mashallah, is what's your Iman story? Now, what you want to ask your mom or your dad or your grandpa or your grandma is what brought you to Islam, right? Inshallah, perhaps maybe a lot of us were born into Islam. Yes, that's one thing. But were there pivotal moments in your life? Were there ups and downs in your faith? Were there difficult times? Were there times when you really felt, no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is my Lord, Islam is my deen? What were those times for you? And can you share that with your kids? Give you 2 minutes for that one, because that one's really important. Hey, my friends. So did anybody learn anything new about each other throughout that game? Did anybody learn something new about someone they love, something they didn't know before? Yeah. Do you want to share anything that you want to? That's okay too. Don't worry. But alhamdulillah, I'm glad everybody learned something new. And so these types of questions are a way of course, deepening our bonds with each other. And so research has found that sharing our Iman story, our faith journey, particularly as parents, is one of the very foundational ways that we allow for sticky faith to be part of our family. Does that make sense? It's very important for our children to know that Iman does have ups and downs. It isn't some perfect person who, I don't know, some like angelic being that walks around the earth and can do everything that our faith requires. No, that it is hard. It does have struggle, that our parents did struggle through it, and the choices and the very hard choices they had to make. It is a choice almost we make every day as well, right? So they need to know that very human side to it. Okay, so strategy number 2, and this maybe sounds very, very simple or elementary, but it is intentional eye contact. Now, something very important for us sometimes to do as parents is to have audits or, at work we have performance reviews, right? Ask your kids, hey, what can I be doing better to be a better mother to you, to be a better father to you? What can I do? So I asked my son this. He was maybe 6 or something. He was very young. And I asked him, what can mama do better? We were just walking down the street. What can mama do better to be a better mama to you? And he said, look at me. Just look at me, mama. And I realized that, in all the busyness, all the things we're doing, let's go to the park, let's do this, let's do that. I wasn't even spending time to just look at him in the eye, subhanAllah. Something it seems so simple, right? But we don't do it enough. And the other one is proximity, being close together, physically close together. You know what? We live in a very strange world where we sit closer to the person on the subway or on the public transportation bus than we do with our own family members, subhanAllah, right? If you're at home, you're around the couch or you're around the dinner table, there's a lot of space. There's a lot of gap in between us. My mother-in-law, for example, very, very sweet, mashallah, but there'll be a huge couch and I'll be sitting on it. She'll come sit right next to me, even almost right on top of me. And it's the sweetest thing, right? And it is her showing that she loves us and we love it. So it is a beautiful way to do it. So the activity we're going to do, I want you to scoot closer together. It's wonderful if you're on the carpet, you can be even closer. But yeah, put an arm around each other. Exactly, mashallah. You can hold hands, be closer together. And I'm going to say, we're going to count for 30 seconds. I actually want us to look each other in the eye, okay? Face each other. You can talk to each other. You can also stare awkwardly at each other for 30 seconds in silence if you want. Just talk to each other, but look at each other in the eye, okay? Give each other hugs. I'm going to actually time it for us, inshallah. So your 30 seconds starts. Everybody kind of facing each other. Your 30 seconds starts now. I want you to look at each other. I'm seeing people look at screens or at papers or on the floor at each other. Hey, how were those 30 seconds? Does that feel awkward? Is everybody okay? I feel awkward, mashallah. But hopefully it makes you feel a little bit closer together as well. And just remind us how important it is. Number 3, the third strategy is shared interests. Now, again, because we're all very different personalities, especially under one roof, having shared interests is actually often really difficult. When kids are young, them playing with Legos or different things, I'm sure as parents, not necessarily are we really interested in those things. But we will take time to get down on the carpet and still play with them. Now, it's especially that importance of shared interests, eye contact, proximity. All of that still remains just as vitally important as they get older, if not more. right? We think that as kids, when they're very small, it's so much easier to love them because we can do all those things, hug them, kiss them, play on the floor with them. But all of that is still important as they grow older. They still need us. They still need us to be close. And so trying to figure out then what are those interests? What can we do together is really important. So for example, my mom, for example, loves gardening. I'm not a fan. I'm gonna be honest. I find it a waste of time. I don't know. I can't understand why people do it. SubhanAllah. I'll be very, very frank with you. But if I want to spend time with my mom, I have to do it, right? There's a part of me that says that no, my intention here, my niyyah here is I want to be closer to my mom, and this is what she loves. Well, then I'm going to spend that time with her doing something so I can see her joy in it. And I try to take my own angle with it, right? So number one is make your niyyah, make your intention very strong for yourself. Your niyyah here is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through loving your mom or through loving your child. So there's compromise here. I might not like gardening, that's okay. I'm gonna spend time with her doing it. And the second one is take your own angle with it. So I love science, I love learning about the natural world. So when I'm out there with her, I like asking her, hey, so mama, what's this plant? Why is it important? How does it grow? Right? I bring my own interest into it to make it more tolerable or fun for you, right? A lot of the parents that I speak to in our MNN community often say that especially when their kids hit the pre-adolescent, the adolescent, the teen, and the adulthood time, they don't know what their kids like anymore. They don't know what to do with them. I've asked parents, so what do your kids like? And it's just crickets. It's just silence, right? And so, for example, one dad was really struggling to bond with his son, and he didn't know sports to play with them, didn't know what video games to play with them. But in the end, he said, okay, my son likes bubble tea. So I'm going to take him out for bubble tea once a week, and we're going to hang out and do that together, right? If that's something you can identify, do that. Right? It's a favorite food that they like to eat or they enjoy or something, right? I have a son, and so I know that as a mom, maybe I'm not the sportiest person in the world. Okay, it doesn't matter. I need to be able to play with my son. So we play basketball together often. We go bike riding. It's important for me to take the interest that he loves and to bond with him. Otherwise, I'm never going to have a relationship with him as he grows older, right? So being mindful of, well, how do I do that, right? And so here, this is the activity here is for parents here. It's kind of a parents chart. You can take a screenshot of it if you would like, or make your own one for yourself on your paper. But it's kind of a way for you throughout the week to see, what am I doing to bond with my child, right? Am I doing something silly and goofy and making them laugh? Because honestly, as parents, especially moms, we get into a very militaristic checklist. Okay, bedtime is done. Okay, I fed them. Cooking is done. They cleaned up their room. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Everything is checked off the list. And we forget about, hey, did I have fun with them? Did I smile at them? Did I look at them in the eye? We forget all these very, very important things that make a child feel loved. And so this is a way to kind of audit yourself. Now, be very easy and kind to yourself. I usually only focus on 3 per week that I try to maybe hit every other day or 3 times a week, right? Be mindful of what is possible for you, given your busy schedule or given what you do. And please modify it to be, appropriate to your children and to your particular family. What do you like to do to bond and spend time? But just to remind ourselves, hey, wait a minute, what am I actually doing that helps me to actually bond? So it's very important, inshallah. So number 4, our 4th strategy is having family rituals. Now, there are all kinds of different family rituals we might have in our homes. Does anybody have family meals together? Might not be every day, but kind of often, yeah, family meals. Does anybody have a family halaqah at their house where you sit together as a family, talk a little bit about deen, share a hadith or a verse of the Quran? Could be something. Going to Jummah together. Going to the masjid together every weekend. Maybe you visit grandparents every weekend, and this is something that's a family ritual that you do. So those are kind of daily rituals, weekly rituals, and there are also yearly rituals. Are there special ways that you as a family always spend Ramadan? Maybe you always go for Taraweeh together, certain nights, or you have a family iftar and you invite everybody, or something my son really loves in Ramadan is to make iftar and to share it with, go around the neighborhood and share it. He loves doing that. Or Eid as well. Beautiful family rituals around Eid. Is there a particular way that you as a family always celebrate Eid? Okay. So family rituals are exceptionally important. They really provide the sort of bedrock or foundation of a family. That your family, your children know that over and over again, they have, whether it's weekly or daily or yearly, they have these beautiful routines that they'll come back to. It gives them a sense of safety, and it's exceptionally important for that. And so the family ritual that we're going to try to do is to write letters to each other. Now, conversations, obviously face-to-face or on the phone, very important to have. But something I think we don't do enough is write to each other. And I want us to point out that, you know, in our tradition, there is sort of a beautiful history or a long tradition of it, of beautiful mothers and fathers writing to their children out of love, out of concern for them. So does anybody want to read out the first letter to us? You have the mic. Would anybody like to be a brave soul and read a letter to my son? Would anybody like to do that? Yeah, mashallah.
My dear son, you are part of my body and soul, and whenever I look at you, I feel as if I'm looking at myself. If any calamities befall you, I feel as if it has befallen me. Your death will make me feel as if it was my own death. Your affairs are to me like my own affairs.
Very emotional, right? SubhanAllah. Does anybody have a guess on who the beautiful, as is a father, who's the beautiful father here that wrote this for his son? I'll give you some clues. He is a Sahaba. He is from the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ali radiallahu anhu, mashallah, barakallahu fiki. Yes, perfect. And so he wrote this to his son. Like, look at the love, look at the empathy in that. He's saying that his son is a part of him, part of his heart. The second letter, does anybody want to read that for us, inshallah, if anybody feels comfortable? Maybe a brother. It's another father writing to his son. Okay, don't worry, I will read it out loud. Did he go? Okay. Advice to my son. My dear son, I pray that Allah guides you towards all that is right. My dear son, observe the way you handle the limits set by Allah and see whether or not you remain within their limits. Indeed, he who takes care to stay within them will be looked after by Allah, and he who does not will be left to himself. My dear son, do not let your past carelessness make you lose hope of achieving good. There are many who have been awakened after sleeping for a long time. My dear son, strive to protect your dignity from being compromised by chasing this world and having to stoop to its people. So it's a very different tone you can say to this one. This particular father was very concerned about the path that his son was taking in life, worried for him, wanting more for him, wanting his son to be on a better path. And so he wrote this sort of beautiful letter. Does anybody have any guesses on who this father is? A very good guess, mashallah, mashallah. It's a scholar actually, so not someone from the Quran. Excellent guess, actually. Has anybody ever read any books by Ibn al-Jawzi? This is Ibn al-Jawzi. There's a whole, even a book translated into English, Advice to My Son. And it's a very, mashallah, a very comprehensive sort of letter that he writes to his son. Beautiful if you want to read it, even available in the library, alhamdulillah. So the activity I wanted us to do is actually for us to write letters to each other. Now, here, if you're a mom here and you have multiple children, pick maybe one, or maybe write a couple of sentences for each of them. And if you're a kid here, mashallah, a young person here with your parents, write 2 separate letters for your mom, for your dad, or for any other caregiver in your life, mashallah. But think about what you'd want to say to them. Think about the legacy you want to leave them. Think about how much joy they've brought to you, how they, revive your iman every day. Think about all those beautiful things and take some time. And so, sorry, I put this under family ritual because writing letters to each other, it can be something that can become a yearly ritual. So, for example, every Ramadan, sitting down with your spouse and writing letters to each of your children that maybe you give them for Eid or you save for them. You collect all those letters throughout the years and you give them those letters on the day they go off to university or they move away or they get married, inshallah. Having that collection of letters that throughout the years shows them how much you've loved them, how much you've cared for them, is just a beautiful way that they have a very tangible way to remember your love long after you're gone. So take about 5 minutes now, inshallah, and write some letters to each other. It's not enough time to do it, but take some time, inshallah. Anybody needs more paper or pens? 2 more minutes, inshallah. MashaAllah, Jazakumullah khairan for taking part in that particular activity. I know it can be emotional, it can be, something that it's very heartfelt, subhanAllah. So I appreciate you going there, MashaAllah. And hopefully, inshallah, you can share those letters soon as well. And so the last and the fifth strategy that we have of creating closeness within our families is that of sticky suhbah. Now, suhbah is that idea of righteous companionship. And remember, we talked about creating sticky faith within our families. That's what we want to do as Muslim families, as believing families. Here is this idea that if the family is sort of this beautiful family that you're building in the home and putting all this work and this effort and all the work that it takes to build your family, what is the fortress that you build around that family to protect it is suhbah, is this beautiful sticky web or large connection or web of relationships around that beautiful home that you've worked so hard to build, right? It's of knowing and understanding that as parents, we have a lot of power, ability, capacity to be able to curate and choose the people that come into our homes, into our children's lives, into our hearts. And particularly, so it's very important to be very intentional about who we bring into our homes in that way. So whether that's having beautiful people in your life that, push you to greater highs in your iman, that push you to be better Muslims, making friends with those wonderful families, and then creating something like a potluck family halaqah together. You get together every month. And it rotates around the houses. We have this, alhamdulillah, amongst my friends, where we get together for a halaqah every month. The brothers have their own halaqah, the sisters do, and the kids sometimes have their own halaqah, or they join the mothers or the fathers. And it's a beautiful way for parents to get together with other beautiful people. Being involved and connected to a wonderful masjid where you feel at home, where your kids can socialize and make connections with other wonderful children who care about deen is exceptionally vital and important, not just for your own iman as parents, as adults, but for our children as well. They need to have peers, they need to see other families. And so sometimes as well, throughout life, we as parents aren't going to be the best person or best able to connect with our kids. But if we've created sticky webs of relationships with other beautiful Muslim families, maybe an aunt or an uncle or a family friend will be a really good mentor to your child, right? And you as an adult, sometimes it isn't our kids that maybe we can get through to the most, particularly think about the different seasons of life. But maybe you get through to your grandchild or to your nephew, to your niece, to your cousin's child. And those are the young children also in your life. And just to remind ourselves that we are all shepherds of our flocks. And our flock, yes, it is our maybe nuclear family. That's one, mashallah. But it goes wider than that. It goes to our brothers and sisters' children and to our community's children. And it takes all of us as a village together to build strong families. And through that, those strong families become then the building blocks of our ummah, of a united ummah. So your child getting into a better university than my child, or, this or that comparison or that competition doesn't exist. Your wins and your losses are my wins and my losses. That's what it means really to be a believer that actually cares for their brother and sister. And so we're all in it together. We're all parents, caregivers to all the beautiful children within our communities. And so the activity for this sticky suhbah portion is for the young people to list 5 wonderful Muslims in your life, adult Muslims in your life that you look up to, that whose iman maybe inspires you, that you want to be like. And parents, your activity is to write out 5 adults within your circle, within your child's life that you think are great mentors to your children, who have invested their time. And then you're going to compare. Maybe they're going to be different, inshallah. So young people, list out 5 people whose Islam, whose Iman, who has been there for you. And then parents do the same, thinking about who's in your children's life. So compare, inshallah, if you've made your list, if your parents got your answers or vice versa, did they get it right? Is it hard to identify 5? It's hard. I mean, it makes sense. It's a good way for us to know that, hey, maybe we need to put a little bit more intention, a little bit more effort into bringing great people into our lives, inshallah, as well. Did anybody's parents, were they bang on? They got your 5 for 5? Anybody get that? Parents. Any young people, did your parents get 5 for 5? Did they get 100%? Did they get A+ on this exam? No? Okay, that's okay. We're going to have discrepancies, but hopefully you learn something about each other, inshallah, as well. And so all of these elements, all these 5 different strategies are sort of ways, tools that we have in order to build closeness within our homes. Right? What we're ultimately trying to create and to build is darus sakina, right? Is an abode of tranquility, an abode of, sort of beautiful contentment and peace, a home of mawadda and rahma, all of that together. And it requires so many different elements and so many different strategies. And of course, I put question marks there because there's so much more we can add to it. And so I want us to then be able to take some time as well to go through the questions. And did everybody have a chance to do that? If not, I'm going to give you a little bit more time. And so they're all populated here, inshallah, as well, which is fantastic. So you can also vote for which questions maybe are most pertinent to you or you would like more, I guess, covered in this portion. So inshallah. So for sure, the first question that of siblings really having a difficult time getting along. Now, as parents, it's very important to identify, is there some rivalry that has been set up between them? Have I, in any way, as a parent, has any of the caregivers taken part in sort of setting up a type of competition between them? That's often what happens when siblings are not able to get along. One of the root causes is that they felt that they had to fight for their mother or their father's love. And we see, Yusuf alayhi salam and his brothers are a really good example of that in the Quran. And it's something that happens in very different ways, plays out in our families as well. Where the grades of one pitted against the grades of another, the more friendliness or outgoingness of one pitted against the other, etc. Were there comparisons set up? And just taking steps, us as parents, to not speak to our children in a comparative type of a way. And then the other is to identify shared interests that they have together that they could do with each other. If there's a sport that the two of them like to play, or a craft they like to do, or a board game they both really like to play, or a place they like to go, taking time to kind of identify what are the different interests of both, and then making intentional progress to create more of those spaces so they can spend time, in positive time together. Sometimes family trips are a great way for siblings to bond, doing different, what can we say, like workshops or sports within the masjid or other things, activities that they can do together, also possible. It takes, of course, not knowing all the details, it's hard to exactly say. But of course, you can always come in for consultations at MNN if there are further, more specific questions too that I can help with as well. So one here is that not if I don't understand much about mental health issues, how can I identify if my child is having difficulty? So one of the sort of main, what can we say, things we look out for, especially as parents, as caregivers, if we see a very large, marked change in our child, in their personality, in the way that they're sleeping or not sleeping, in their appetite, are they eating more, eating less? Are they more prone to outbursts now? Are they crying a lot more? Have they become a lot more withdrawn? Do you see a very marked change in their personality? And if that's the case, it might be something happened at school. It might not be a mental health issue. Of course, it could have been triggered by something that happened. And then just taking some time to talk to them, coming from a place of, I noticed that you were sleeping a lot more, or I noticed, honey, that you looked more upset, or you didn't seem comfortable. I wanted to talk to you, and I hope, inshallah, you can feel free to be able to talk to me as well. Just opening it up in an I noticed or I observed kind of a way of starting the conversation is always a gentle way to approach it. And then if not knowing a lot about mental health issues is there, alhamdulillah, we have a lot of great online resources to really learn about mental health. And if you continue to be concerned, talk to the family doctor of your child, or the pediatrician if your child is young. Explain what the symptoms are that you're noticing or the changes you're seeing, and see if the professional offers any other advice, inshallah. But really being clued into what's happening at school, what's happening with their peers, with their friends, is really important, just to be able to understand what's going on, inshallah. Yeah. All really good questions. Yeah, not being able to talk about akhirah enough. I totally understand. I also grew up in a home where talking about deen is not normal. It's not normalized. It was weird to have conversations, and it still is, subhanallah. But so I really appreciate that, inshallah, you're trying to create a different home, a different dynamic, different conversations. And so, for example, at the dinner table, saying something like, oh, I was reading this today, or I came across this really great lecture, or maybe you listened to a Sheikh Omar Suleiman lecture or Mufti Menk lecture or something in the car as you're driving somewhere, and have that kind of be a springboard for conversations together. Or going to a halaqah at the masjid together, but you are together there. Like I take my son to the children's halaqah at ISNA, but I sit with him and we, write actually, or draw, as in what the Sheikh Hussam is saying, we draw it out or make notes together in the same notebook, and we talk about it together on our drive back home. It's actually really important to have those faith conversations in a very natural or organic way between parents and children. So I know at the masjid sometimes we have, parents or the adults have their own halaqah or their own program, and the kids have their own program. Also important, but also really important for kids and parents, just like here, to actually have a program together and have that then be a way to, a springboard for conversations later on. So on the drive home, hey, did anything strike you? Was anything interesting to you in there? It reminded me of this verse of the Quran. It reminded me of this part of my life. And just sharing that with each other is just a really organic way you can talk about Jannah with each other. Even asking your kids on the way back home, how do we build our home in Jannah together? How do we do that as a family? And maybe sometimes it is kind of maybe intentionally let's create a family halaqah together, Jum'ah night around, we bake cookies together, and then we talk a little bit about the young person, the young person in your family maybe chooses a hadith that they share, and everybody talks about it in a kind of a simple way. Is like a beautiful way to have a halaqah too. Just think about, maybe brainstorm different ways the families can get together to do that. And so I know we don't have so much time, but I also wanted to give space for the next question on Menti. Was we do want this Building Sakina workshop series to be very tailored to what you want as a community. What do you see as the major sort of stumbling blocks that you're facing within your families, within your spousal relationships, within your relationships with your children? What's important to you? What would you like to see as the next topic for this Building Sakina series at MNN? If you have any ideas, again, it's totally anonymous, but please do, please, mashallah, kids upbringing, excellent. Please do feel free. And I'll, take some time, inshallah. I'll give you a couple minutes there, inshallah. MashaAllah, beautiful suggestions. So this will stay open for a while. So please feel free to add all of your input and any input you have for today's workshop as well. What worked, what didn't work, what you'd like to see, please feel free. Any kind of feedback, inshallah, excellent. Jazakumullah khairan. Appreciate all the feedback and all the advice, actually, mashallah, alhamdulillah. And so, and I also just wanted us to point out that, alhamdulillah, at MNN, we do have our wonderful religious committee with our senior scholar, Dr. Al-Nadvi, and I'm on there as well. If you ever want to book a consultation, any questions you have regarding anything of life, please feel free. We're always here, inshallah, every month. We have office hours. You're very welcome to come in person, by email, by phone, any way that is the most convenient to you, inshallah. We're always here to serve you, inshallah. And I just wanted to say, Jazakumullah khairan. May Allah bless all of you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put sakina within our homes. May He grant us tawfiq to be able to be the best parents to our children. And we as children to be the best children to our parents, to serve them, to honor them. And may we all build our homes in Jannatul Firdaus al-A'la. Ameen. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. جزاكم الله خيرا again. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Jazakumullah khairan, everyone, for coming. And like Dr. Farah said, we do have a religious committee. We've got her on it. If you have any questions, if you want to have any personal interactions with her and one-on-one consultations, we can do that. You can also send in any questions you have, anything fiqh-related, personal matters, anything, you can anonymously send it in online, and we have Dr. Nadwi and Dr. Farah who will be answering those questions as well. So yeah, please use that facility and also stick with us here at MNN. We're going to be doing a lot more programs, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair.